Good afternoon. This is Steve Fletcher with the Trumpet for My People, April 9th, 2018. And I've been looking at some stuff here on April 11th, and I'm seeing this connection between the Apollo 13 launch on April 11th and the actual crash that took place on April 13th. Okay, we know Apollo 13, the number 13, and April 13th. So there's a link here. There's a connection, and this is going to get deeper as we go. The connections to the number 13 within the Apollo launch. And then if we go to this video, we can see the actual crisis that took place on April 13th, the Apollo 13 crash, April 13th, 1970. Let's take a look at this together.
Hello, and welcome to History Pod. Late on the 13th of April 1970, the American spacecraft Apollo 13 was rocked by an explosion from one of its oxygen tanks. The resulting emergency led to the calm announcement by the crew of, "Houston, we've had a problem." However, most people misquote the phrase as "Houston, we have a problem," because the award-winning 1995 film changed the tense. The movie also placed the words in the mouth of Commander Jim Lovell, whereas in fact it was Command Module pilot Jack Swaggart who first reported the issue. The explosion occurred after a routine procedure to stop gases settling in their tanks. An investigation by NASA has since found that a spark from an exposed wire in the oxygen tank caused a fire, leading to an expansion of gases that eventually blew the tank apart. The explosion ripped off the side of the service module, vented oxygen into space, and left the crew stricken in a damaged spacecraft. Rather than landing on the moon, the mission's focus was now to bring the crew safely home. Improvisation was key, with the crew forced to turn their landing unit into a lifeboat to ferry them back to Earth before transferring back to the command module for re-entry. Fortunately, the heat shield had not been damaged, and so the crew splashed down safely on April the 17th.
Okay, we have been watching April 10th and 11th based on the 24th day of the first month, which is the day that is written in the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 4, about the vision that Daniel had of Jesus Christ and Michael, the battle of Michael, ending on the 24th day of the first month. So we're watching Nisan 24. This is April 10th and 11th. And so this has opened up a study, understanding of Apollo 13, which was launched on April 11th. And Apollo is connected to Abaddon and Apollyon, which we will look at in a minute. And so we see the April 11th. But then we see the connection to the actual date of the crash. The actual date of the malfunction was the 13th. So we have Apollo 13 malfunctioning on April 13th. So the disaster day was April 13th. The takeoff was April 11th, but the disaster day was April 13th. So this brings us here. Now I put together a little piece of information to try to tie together some of these details. Let's take a look at that. Okay, the first thing that we're going to see is that Apollo 13 was launched on April 11th, 1970, and it was launched at 13:13 Central Standard Time. Okay, now they definitely want a focus on the number 13 here, because the launch took place in Florida, which is Eastern Standard Time. And if they put 14:13 on here, it just doesn't fit their agenda. And so this photo I found focuses on 1313. Well, either way, okay, so it's Apollo 13. It was launched at 13 minutes. In Central Time, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1313. Then we take a look at the logo of the Apollo 13, and we see that it looks like the four horsemen, the four horses of the apocalypse. How many horses are in there? 3? Okay, well, anyway, so we've got something going on with the logo, Apollo 13, horses, the sun, the moon. Okay, is this the Apollyon rising connected to the number 13? Then we see that the actual day of the crash or the malfunction was the 13th of April. And that links us this year from April 10th on Nisan 24 to April 13th. And if we want to get technical about it, the 13th and the 14th is the Sabbath. Okay, so we've got a link to the 13th and 14th of April. Basically, let's look at this time frame. Now, if we look at April 13th, 2018, we see that April 13th is Friday the 13th. And so we've got this big connection to 13 within Apollo. Apollo 13, the time of the launch, and then the date of the malfunction. It's all tied to the number 13. Well, this year, April 13th, 2018, is Friday the 13th, and it is also 444 weeks to the day from the Obama Nobel Peace Prize on October 9th, 2009. 444 weeks. Okay, and this is, it's connected to Obama 44. It's connected to Friday the 13th. And it's connected to Apollo. And that is connected to Abaddon, Apollyon, and that is the god destroyer. Let's take a look at some information that gives us understanding about Apollo and how Apollo is connected to the destroyer. Okay, so I want to share this article with you that I found from, the name of the blog is The Greatest Story Ever Retold. And it's got some information here that I want to share with you about Abaddon, Apollyon, or Apollo. They are all names for the same entity. The destroyer, he is the Hebrew name for the Greek Apollyon, angel of the bottomless pit, as in Revelation 9:10. Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. In Revelation 9:1 through 11, Abaddon is described as a personified star who falls to earth from heaven and is given the key to open the bottomless pit. Abaddon opens the pit, releasing a swarm of locusts. Abaddon is also described in the same passage as the destroyer, the angel of the abyss, and as the king of a plague of locusts resembling horses with crowned human faces, women's hair, lion's teeth, wings, iron breastplates, and a tail with a scorpion stinger that torments for 5 months anyone who does not have the seal of God on their foreheads. We all know how the Bible describes Satan and his soldiers, as we can find in Genesis 3:15. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. He is also known in the Far East by Shiva. For some information, please refer to our post on Lord Shiva. Okay. Abaddon is the name of a demon or of the devil himself. According to Mathers, the Greater Key of Solomon, Abaddon is a name for the angel that Moses invoked to bring down the blighting rain over Egypt. He is also death's dark angel. A reference to Abaddon's hooked wings occurs in Francis Thompson's poem To the English Martyrs. Abaddon has always been identified as the angel of death and destruction, demon of the abyss, and chief of demons of the underworld hierarchy. He is also equated with Samael or Satan. Abaddon is the destroying angel of the apocalypse. Okay, so let's see. Some versions of the Bible translate Apollyon to Apollo. Let's look at this. Okay, so here in Bible Gateway, if we open up the page of all the translations of Revelation 9:11, we can see the different ways this is described in the different translations. In the Amplified, it says they have as king over them the angel of the abyss, the bottomless pit. In Hebrew, his name is Abaddon, destruction. And in Greek, he is called Apollyon, destroyer king. And then if we go down and we let's look at this Phillips translation, just to see how they write this out. It says, these locusts look to me in my vision like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were what appeared to be crowns like gold. Their faces were like human faces. They had long hair like women. Their teeth were like lions' teeth. Their breasts were like iron breastplates. And the noise of their wings was like the noise of a host of chariots and horses charging into battle. They have tails and stings like scorpions. And it is in their tails that they possess the power to injure men for 5 months. They have as their king the angel of the pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon and in Greek, Apollyon. Okay, so we have this connection to these horses with long hair like women. Horses like women with long hair. Apollyon, the destroyer. Number 13. In the King James Version, it is said, they had a king over them, which is angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue, his name is Apollyon. In the Message, it shows that the locusts looked like horses ready for war. They had gold crowns, human faces, women's hair, the teeth of lions, and iron breastplates. The sound of their wings was like the sound of horse-drawn chariots charging into battle. Their tails were equipped with stings like scorpion tails. With those tails, they were ordered to torture the human race for 5 months. They had a king over them, the angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, in Greek, Apollyon, the destroyer. Okay, now is this the crown? Is this their crown, this sun? These horses with long hair connected to Apollyon. Okay, now let's take a look at the image of the god Shiva, which is also the destroyer god. Here is a picture of the Hindu god Shiva, the destroyer. as Barack Obama was depicted as Shiva on the cover of Newsweek, God of all things, on November 22nd, 2010. And from November 22nd, 2010 to April 13th, 2018 is 2,699 days. So what does Revelation 9:11 say? It says they had a king over them that in the Greek was Apollyon, in the Hebrew is Abaddon, which means destroyer, and Barack Obama was shown as the destroyer, the Hindi god Shiva. See, these are all the names for the same God, the destroyer. Apollyon, Apollo, Abaddon, Shiva. And we have a number ritual here. Apollo 13, 1313, the horses. Friday the 13th, April 13th, 2018. 444 weeks to the day from the Obama Nobel Peace Prize. Apollo, Abaddon, Apollyon, Apollo, Shiva. So the more I am watching here on April 11th, now that I've seen the connection to April 13th, Apollo 13, the very important Illuminati number 13, and the April 13th, 2018 being Friday the 13th, I'm seeing this as maybe the time that they are going to be focusing on, seeing that Friday the 13th is a key day within their messages. You have Sabbath, which would become their Black Sabbath. And then you would have Sunday, Bloody Sunday, being the first day of as the Great Tribulation kicks in worldwide. Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Recently, the message I shared that came from Todd at It Is Finished showed how U2 was connecting the number 10-4 to the messages that they are sharing. So U2 and their songs, you know, they had the song about April 4th and Martin Luther King, and so many messages that come through these Illuminati puppets. And so this weekend, Friday the 13th, Black Sabbath, Sunday, Bloody Sunday, if we look at the true calendar based on April being the first month of the calendar, that the true calendar that was years ago followed, April 1st is the new year. Okay, and I know that there's a discrepancy within the Hebrew calendar based on the new moon sighting, but we did have a super or a full blue moon on March 31st and April 1st. That was a huge sign in the heavens that April 1st is a key marker within everything we are watching. And if April is the first month, then April 14th is Passover. April 14th is Passover because it's the 14th day of the first month. Okay, and so we're just at the end of winter. We're just into the beginning of spring. The Lord told us to watch for a Sabbath in winter This is a connecting, this is a time that is connecting us to the closeness to the equinox, to the closeness of the change of season from winter to spring. And April 14th on the true Gregorian calendar would be the 14th day of the first month, which is the Passover that they are waiting for. They are waiting for their Passover, 14th day of their first month. And all the calendars were changed so nobody could understand their plans. Well, anyway, we're watching April 11th, which is the 24th day. The 24th day of the first month, and we're watching all the way through the 14th. Now that a number of things are opening up to us with understanding. So we're going to keep watching until we find what we're looking for, okay? All right, guys, this is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people. Leave your comments if you have any new information that connects to what I'm sharing. Leave your comments in the comment section. Pray you guys are all blessed today. Have a wonderful afternoon. Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people.